All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, you already know what time it is, and right here, right now, we actually have New Jersey's own. We got the legendary YZ right here, live on the line, man. How are you doing this evening?
I'm great. I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. I am doing absolutely great. I gotta say, first and foremost, why I've been a fan of yours for a very long time, so just thank you for just giving us a bit of your time here this evening, man. It truthfully is definitely an honor.
Nah, it's the honor's mine, man, and the pleasure's mine. I appreciate that you've actually listened to my music for a long time. That's a good thing. I appreciate that.
Hey man, I gotta say you're most certainly welcome, man. Me personally, I still kind of live like it's the '90s, man. I love real boom bap sound. I love real hip hop, and with this new mainstream stuff, man, it seems like we're losing that. So I always like backtracking and pulling out the old vinyl and the old cassettes and CDs, and that's where it's at in my personal opinion.
Absolutely, I understand. I I think music takes its turns, man. It goes around in cycles. So you know, uh, the '90s are coming back strong. And I'm noticing that like a lot of my peers are out on the road again and doing a lot of things. So it's good to see that the transition is happening.
But I know you're a very busy guy, YZ. But I want to take you back to the year 1989, where you actually released your debut single, in Control of Things, under the name YZG Rock. I was wondering, what actually made you decide to go under YZG Rock, and of course, what's the story behind that iconic single?
Well, actually, the first single that I put out was before that. G Rock was a dancer of mine, and we had a group. We had a group called YZG Rock. We also had a DJ by the name of Tink, and so that's the story behind that. I was, the head, guy, and G Rock was the dancer, and I would write songs for us sometimes, and we would do like routines. And so when we put out that record, when I put that record out myself, it was under YZG Rock because I was still with my crew. It used to be called Too Deaf even before that. It was it was called Too Deaf. The first single we put out was on a small label called Rockin' Hard. No. Yeah. It was called Rockin' Hard, and it was out of Trenton, and we were called Too Deaf. And under Too Deaf were all the members of the group, and it said YZ, G Rock, and Tink. So when we put the single out, when I did it on my own label, we just kept the YZG Rock.
And I have to ask, well, what actually made you decide to transition into a solo career? Like, did you guys happen to break up, or did
Oh,
you guys do your separate
no, no,
ways?
no, no, no. It was always. I don't want to necessarily say it was like a breakup for a solo career because there was really only one MC in the group. Like, I mean, there was G Rock was a dancer and I had a DJ, and so I could have easily just came out as YZ and nobody would have ever known the difference. So it wasn't a thing of me trying to become a soloist. I mean, it was always just me, and I just wanted to bring my people along. So G Rock and I are still real cool. Like he works for Black Girl Rocks now, and he's out in Brooklyn, and he's doing his thing. I mean, he still dances very well. He's still, very much part of the community and doing things in the community. And so it was never a thing of a breakup or a split up. It just seemed like, the I guess the transition just kind of fell into its own place. So it wasn't like that. And then G Rock, he was a dancer, so he would go on to dance for PRT and Lord knows who else he danced for at the time.
And also, as well, yourself alongside Tony D actually opened up the production company Two Tone Productions. I was wondering if you,
Absolutely.
I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about that phenomenal partnership, and of course, what kind of services do you guys actually offer to the general public today, if that company is still going?
Actually, well, Tony passed. He passed some years ago. He got into a car accident. But the way Two Tone started, um, I did a demo in Tony's house, and that demo ended up being becoming my first single, and that was the one I was just telling you about on Rock and Hard on the Rock and Hard label. After I did that, I went to Tony. I was like, look, I got this record playing on the radio every week. You're doing beats. We should start a production company. And he was like, yeah, I guess we should call it Two Tone because his name is Tony DePula and my name is Tony Hill, or Anthony DePula and Anthony Hill. He's Italian, I'm black. We just played on it. So I was just like, yeah, we should call it Two Tone. Why not? So we got in the car, went down to City Hall, registered the name, and, Two Tone was birthed. And, so one of the very first projects that we were producing was mine, and then the second was Poor Righteous Teachers.
And I got to ask as well, back in the day, was it hard to actually copyright a name and whatnot, or did you just legit just go down there and get it?
No, it wasn't hard. I mean, the same process. You just go through the copyright office, and as far as getting the company started, it's very easy to start a company. It's a lot easier now because of the net. You don't have to actually get in your car and go anywhere. But back then it was just a matter of getting in your car and go and register. And, just like if you wanted to start any local business, you go register the business. So, I mean, it's a little different now, but I didn't look at it as a hard thing. Back then I wasn't thinking today. I was thinking, hey, I want to start a business. What do I have to do? I need to get in my car, go to City Hall, register the business, and start this business. And so that's what I did.
And also, as well, in the year 1990, you actually inked a deal with Tough City Records. I was wondering, how did that deal come to be for you? And of course, what was it like working alongside that legendary imprint?
Okay. After Two Tone Productions came about, I became 50% owner of a record company called Diversity, and we put that single that you're talking about, In Control of Things and Master Plan, on this single. That single ended up becoming a very big record. In Control of Things became a very big record in New York City because Marley Marl used to open his show up to it. He had a show called the In Control Rap Show, and he would play that music to start his show. Aaron Fuchs, the owner of Tough City, got in touch with my business partner, whose name is Tim Baylor. Timmy called me one day and said, hey, Tough City wants to meet with us about talking about, a deal. And I told Timmy, to be honest with you, I don't want to do it. I mean, I told him, hey, it's too early. We're just really getting our feet wet, and I didn't really want to do it. But what Timmy wasn't saying, and Timmy is probably 10 years older than me. When I got into that label, I was probably 17, about to turn 18. And Timmy, what he wasn't saying was the record was getting too big for him, and he couldn't afford it. He didn't know what else to do. And I told him I thought we should relax. But if he wanted to go meet with Tough City, we go meet with them. So I knew who Tough City was because, everybody knew Mark the 45 King. Everybody knew that. Lakim Shabazz, I believe, was signed to the label at the time. And so, we knew of Tough City, but I never looked at Tough City as being like this huge imprint. I just looked at it as a small independent, which we were. We were independent too. So I was trying to tell Timmy, look, we should hold off and see where this thing goes. But Timmy just didn't have what it took at the time to move forward. So we met up with Aaron, and I was very reluctant to get into that deal. But because I'm a business partner with this guy who can't move any further, we took the deal. I'm just being real straight with you about it. We took the deal, and I told Aaron we would change the label. I mean, and we did. I mean, we ended up, taking that label and spreading it, across the country at that, because before us, they weren't, not to say that, not taking anything away from any of the other artists there, but mostly everything was local. It was New York. A lot of people outside of New York didn't even know who Tough City was unless you were, a DJ and you were just heavy into your game. But outside of New York or the tri-state area, you don't really know who Tough City was. And, we did it. I live with it. Do I think it was a prudent move? In my honest opinion, I'll be honest with you, no. And, I'm a businessman first, and, but you learn from your mistakes. To me, when we signed to Tough City, it was a big mistake. But in hindsight, I mean, it worked. I mean, people ask, like, well, how did Master Plan blow up? Was that because of Tough City? No, it was not. It was a DJ in Dallas. His name is DJ Eddie D. And now I didn't find this out until about 4 years ago. Eddie D loved Master Plan. Remember, for me, Master Plan was a B-sided kind of record. It wasn't our A-side. It was a B-side. We didn't even put an instrumental out for it. But Eddie D loved this record. Somehow that record started to find its way through Texas. It found its way to Houston. And the next thing you know, we had this big hit on our hands. And so that's how Tough City really, wanted to move with us because they knew we were moving outside of New York. And that's that story. I won't sit here and say, I'm real proud that, I was a part of Tough City or whatever. I mean, it was cool. It stood its place. I don't have any hard feelings against Tough City, but I try to keep things very, very down to earth and 100. Aaron was not a good business person. He wasn't the person that I should have been in bed with in regards to business. I made a mistake. I live with that mistake to this day.
And I gotta say as well, like especially back in the '90s as well, so many record labels took advantage of artists like yourselves, man. Like I've heard tons of horror stories, and it's just like, damn, I don't understand. My personal opinion, I don't understand why they wouldn't want to keep positive business relationships, because at the end of the day, if you burn someone, they're not going to want to do business with you again. But if you keep a positive, good understanding relationship, then it's a good partnership. It works out for everybody in the long run, in my personal opinion.
No, I agree. I think that you're absolutely right. I think that the business was based on so many other types of business models, and it's based on capitalistic ideas. And so, I mean, ignorance, man, ignorance. And I'm not saying that we inked a production agreement, and I very much moved because I was already a business owner. I just, kind of parlayed that and then segued into another business, which was 720, which was on Broadway in Houston. And when I was there, one of the things that I was really, really known for is fighting for artists and trying to make sure that they got fair deals, because, the labels weren't going to do the right thing. And to be honest with you, I don't think much has changed outside of, you got more artists who are, more independent. But for all of those artists who are signed to majors and still acquainted with majors, and they still going through the same shit, they may make a little more money, but the times have changed. The money has changed. The idea of money has changed. So at the end of the day, of course, they seem a little more rich. They seem, a little more well-to-do than maybe some of the artists in the 90s. And then if you go back to even like the early 80s, late 70s, the 90s seemed better than that. But at the end of the day, if you weren't the type of person who could turn your money into more money, or turn your ideas into money, or turn your business ideas into a business and then into money, I mean, you were going to fail. A fool and his money will soon part. And so I think what happened is, the industry, just like most industries, and they keep people ignorant. They keep their hands tied and keep all the money. And so I didn't have to fall victim to that much of it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because, again, like I said, I was already in business, so I knew how to handle myself. But at 17 and 18, when we signed that deal, Had we just waited another year, that's all. We didn't have to wait long. If we had waited just another year, we probably would have been much, much better off, and we could have been a much stronger independent. We didn't need anybody to really sell our records because we were already doing that. We were already selling our records. It was already happening. But, I like what's happening in today's market that, you have, well, it's a little oversaturated, but that's okay. I mean, because you never know what you're going to get. But I do like what I see. A lot of people will argue that the music's not the same, that the vibe is not the same. So hip hop is always forever transitioning and changing, and I appreciate that about it. Why should it stay the same? It shouldn't have to sound like, Rapper's Delight in 2022. You feel me? It shouldn't feel like that. And it should sound, if I had my guess, it would sound like what maybe the Jetsons would sound like if they were rapping. You feel me? And I just think that, people need to understand that transitioning is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. And, but I think that people lose sight that, y'all always remember, the ground that you walk on. If I couldn't pay homage to, let's say, James Brown or Parliament Funkadelic or Al Green or, any of those legendary artists who actually paved the way for me, I wouldn't be here. And I just think that, the industry does a very big service to, or a very big disservice to artists because not only do they rip them from their money, but they rip them of the culture too. They take the culture away, and if you take the culture away, pretty soon, you take the fabric, you take the fabric of it, you take the foundation away, and you basically can sell people anything. That's why everything sounds so much alike now. Like it's hard to differentiate artists these days because they're taking the fabric away from the music. But it'll come back. It always does. It's just like things are in cycles. It'll come back.
And also, as well, you actually gave a chance to an up-and-coming photographer and director named Daniel Hastings, man. I was wondering, what made you actually decide to hire him for his very first music video? And, of course, what was it like just working with him on that first video? Because back in those days, you could have hired anybody.
Yeah. And I just I think about it, man. I don't know if you know what I was doing at the time, but my ears were very much to the street. I was signing a lot of artists. I was getting a lot of artists signed to other labels, and so my eyes and ears are very close to the street. And the culture of hip hop is music and dance, graffiti. Everything is about visuals. Everything is about the art of it. And so Danny was very much one of those up and coming artists in my eyes, and I saw his talent, just like I could see anybody else's talent, like Wu-Tang or any of the guys who crossed my path, like the Roots or any of these guys who crossed my path before they actually became, famous, or the Jay-Z's before they became famous. At the end of the day, Danny was one of those guys who I saw as a talent. I was like, hey, I like what you're doing. Let's get together and do some work. So I gave him my album cover, and I was working on the second video for that album, which was The Ghetto's Been Good to Me. And I was just like, hey, won't you we bring you in and you DP this thing. And sure enough, he did a wonderful job. And he's doing very big things now. I'm very proud of what he's doing. I'm happy that he's still around and very much a staple into the hip-hop culture, the hip-hop game.
And also, as well, you were actually really good friends with the late, great Tupac Shakur and Shock G of Digital Underground. I was wondering, how did you initially get connected with both of these individuals?
And Biggie. Yeah, Pac was a good dude, man. So was Shock. we were cool. Like, I mean, those guys were just always fun. Always fun to be around. I think Pac, you know, it was a shame to see him go. Matter of fact, a very close friend of mine, if you go to Instagram and you pull up Aisha is Blessed, she just released a book today. It's a memoir about, you know, Tupac. She is actually Pac's god sister, and her mother is my godmother. We all grew up in Blackrock. And so Pac, he was one of those persons, man. Like, I mean, I met him through Shock. I met Shock first. I met Shock G first, and Money B, and then I met Pac. And then Pac and I just stayed cool, you know. You know, we never had any problems with each other. We always kept it real cordial. We always had good conversations. And I miss him. I miss that he's not here. I miss that Biggie's not here, too. Good guy. Biggie was another one. Very fun to be around. Friendly. Always joking. Always laughing. Always in good spirits. And Pac was, you know, a little more serious. He would be fun at times, and then he would be serious at times, but he was a good dude all the time. Same thing with Shock. Shock was, when he passed away a few months back, man, it was real hard to hear. I mean, but you never know, man. It's a bunch of us leaving. DMX left, you know. That was a hard one, too. He was a good dude, too. I only met him on maybe 2 or 3 occasions, but he was always fun to be around. He was cool, you know. I don't know, man. The list goes on, and the year's not over yet. I keep telling people, like, we keep acting, every time somebody passes, they act like it's over with, but the year's still here. And the next year will be here soon enough, so, a lot of these guys, man, you got to remember, if they were still around now, they would be close to 50. Shock actually probably is in his early 50s, or would be in his early 50s now. But you figure Pac right now would probably be 50 years old, and or close to it. I hate that he's not here, and he's one of those energies, man, we can't replace. But because of his death, he's very much a part of all of our lives, A lot of those heroes that we should love that are still here, we really don't really feel their presence until they're gone. I hate to say that, but a lot of us, man, we hear about our peers all the time. But DMX was a person that was around for a long, long time, and people weren't really paying attention. And to me, I thought the man was hurting. He needed help. But I don't believe that the rap community got together and did what they needed to do to make sure that that man was okay. And because of it, we lost another, great man. And I think we'll continue to lose great men like that, and women, if we just don't, if we continue to do what we're doing, which is, status quo, keep it moving. When I think about hip hop, man, I think about the community, and without the community effort, man, what good is the community?
And I got to say, I most definitely agree. I really do, YZ. But when we're on the topic of remembering, hip-hop's fallen, I have to ask, man, what was one of your most fondest memories you actually shared with Tupac and with the late great Tupac and the late great Shock G?
The last time I talked to Pac, we were on the set of Above the Rim. I actually had a part in Above the Rim that got cut out because I did a terrible job. Anyway, Pac was about to shoot the scene where he gets shot in the club. He didn't tell me that, though. I saw him. He had an orange jacket on. We hugged, talked. I asked him what he was doing. He said, "We about to shoot the scene." He never said what the scene was. I told him it was real good to see him. Actually, I've seen him a couple of times after this, but this was very close to one of the last times I saw him. But this particular day stands out because Tretch and I weren't really having a good way at the time. and he and Tretch are good friends. But his relationship with me never changed. You know, it was always cool. It was always cordial. We hugged. I told him peace, and then I would see him later. And the next time I saw that scene, he was getting shot and killed in the movie. And shortly thereafter, he passed away. And it was just hard, man. It was hard.
And I have
hard. It was hard. It was hard to see it. I mean, people think Pac's career was long, but it really wasn't, man. I mean, it was short. It didn't last that long. I mean, kind of came in the wind, and as quickly as he came in the wind, he left. Shock G, one of the last times I'll tell you what, I'll give you another story. I was in New York, and I had a show in New York, and there were some other people on the bill. Shock G was one of those persons on the bill. Humpty Hump was real popular. And he didn't have Digital Underground with him because I guess, they just were trying to promote the single, and I guess Tommy Boy wanted to promote it. So he was on that show. And I remember us talking in the back, and he took his Humpty nose off. And, when you look at Shock with his Humpty nose on, and when he takes it off, he looks totally different. Like he doesn't even look like the same person. Now, I've seen him without the nose before. I've seen him plenty of times without it. But it just struck me so funny that when I actually seen him take his nose off, how different those two personalities really are, and that he really actually transitioned into a character, a true and living, breathing character that we learn to love and appreciate and have fun with. Shock's personality was much more serious than that. Shock was a very big thinking person. Like he was his mind was always on music and thinking about, what was happening around him. And, he's another one, man. A power that I will always miss, man. Good brothers, both of them.
And also, as well, going into the 2000s, you actually released, in my personal opinion, one of my favorite albums that you actually did, The Legend of Floyd Jones. I was wondering, what is the story behind that amazing album? And, of course, is it still available to be streamed today? Because I remember I had a copy back in the day, but I happened to lose it. And I've been looking on eBay like crazy to find myself a copy.
Yeah, The Legend of Floyd Jones was actually a ode to Pee Wee Kirkland. Pee Wee Kirkland is my godfather, and we went everywhere together, everywhere. If you listen to Ghetto's Been Good to Me, he's all over the album. If you look at that video, he's in it. He's my manager at the time, and Pee Wee's history is just like it's one for legends, and so I wanted to do a story around Pee Wee Kirkland where we were going to actually talk about his whole life, not just the basketball side of his life, but the hustle side of his life. And that album was supposed to resonate his lifestyle. And so it was written in the context of a gangster, a pimp. And it's one of my favorites too because it's very conceptual, and to me, I think it was the first time that I actually had a conceptual album, one that I could paint from cover to cover, and every song kind of still fit the picture. And so when I did the album after that, Muad'Dib, I went in with the same idea, except that it was now not me talking about Pee Wee, but, kind of putting my life in the picture.
And I gotta say as well, one of my favorite songs off that record, and always will be, was Tater Chips. I believe that had Too Short on it as well.
It did. We should have shot a video for Tater Chips, and and Jermaine Dupri actually did a remix to that song, but we just never put it out. And I don't know why I didn't push that album. I just think that I don't know how people would have taken it because it was me. Even though it was a soundtrack, I don't necessarily think that they would have understood. it's funny. The praise that I would get for that album was really, really good. And then I got this one review from this fan who was a writer who chewed my ass out like about it. She was just like, she didn't understand the concept, and she was like, "Hey, you know, how are you thinking about thinking of a master plan on one song, and then, bitch, where my money at in the next?" And I told her, "Look, it was a soundtrack. You know, you should do your homework before you start, you know, throwing darts." And she said, "Well, it just didn't feel right to me." And I said, "Well, look, if that's the case, I don't necessarily know if you ever really listened to YZ, because YZ's always been brash, always. I mean, if you know me, you know Crocodile Dundee. If you know me, you know songs that you know resonate the streets and talks about the hustle and talks about the grind daily. I mean, that to me is, you know, being positive. That to me, if you got to make up like lies and only lies and falsehoods, then fine. But me, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be able to resonate true life and music. And so I did that, you know, and I became better as I got older and more interested in writing. When I was younger, man, it didn't make a difference to me what I wrote. You know, Tony put the beat on, I write to it. Whatever happened, happened. And I got lucky with Master Plan because God was in the room. And, you know, when God is in the room, you will be prophetic, you know. But I appreciate that you know that album. I mean, you know, I get a lot of good feedback from that album, but most people don't know that album is me.
I'm going to be honest. The first couple times I listened to it, like I in my head I was like, I know who this is, you know what I mean? But then I actually read the cover and I was like, oh, it's YZ, Jersey's YZ. That's when I knew who it was. But it definitely took me about a good listen or two to actually reconcile who it actually was.
Yeah, no, a lot of people when they listen to it, the first review I read from that album, this is no lie, said something like this. Now this is some real pimp shit here. That was the first thing that this person this journalist wrote, you know. And then on top of it, guess who else is on the record? Too Short, you know, that kind of shit, you know. So, you know, and Short and I cool, like that's my dude, you know. A lot of people don't know I'm on Getting It. Like people say, you know, hey, Short used your record on Getting It. I was like, no, he didn't. That's me. I did that. Shorty B asked me to come and do that record. I went and did it. Because Shorty, I've known Too Short probably since like 89 or 90. One of those. I've known him so long. So when he called me, I said, of course I'm going to come and do it. And then when I called him and said, yo, I got something I want you on, guess what? He said, send me the record. Let's do it. I mean, so because we cool like that.
And also, as well, man, you were actually associated with the company titled Uncolonized CMOS. I was wondering if you can shed some light on this amazing company. And, of course, for the listeners that are interested, where can we actually buy some of these amazing products?
Well, first off, if you wanna, you can go to uncolonizedcmoss.com. But if you go to my Instagram, there's a link right in there. My Instagram is The Black Bank. Or if you go to Uncolonized CMOS on Instagram, there's a link right there. CMOS. CMOS, of course, comes from the sea. It's just plants that come from the sea. And CMOS is probably one of the best foods that you can put in your body. It has anywhere from 99 to 102 minerals in it and vitamins in it. And it helps with digestion. It helps with blood circulation. It gives you lots of energy because it's like taking a triple multivitamin. It's good for skin tone and complexion and like for blemishes. And I can't say enough about it. I mean, it's good for cleansing your body of toxins. Man, you name it. Like CMOS is one of those foods that you can put in your daily diet that you can literally take it to the bank. If you like men who are having problems with their sex lives, man, CMOS will fix that. If you already given the hour in, sea moss is going to give you another hour. So now you 2 hours in the game. I mean, so it's like, just think of it this way. If you know anything about, like, say, the Jamaican culture, the Jamaicans, you go to the Jamaican store and they'll sell you a couple of things. They'll sell you sorrel, which is really just hibiscus tea, like a tea made of hibiscus, and then they'll say Irish moss. Well, Irish moss is really just a drink, but the potent ingredient in Irish moss is sea moss. And sea moss is good for all of those things that I've told you, as well as a host of other things. I mean, it's good for bone strength. It's good for, I already said blood circulation. It's good for digestion. But most of all, it's good for energy. If you're one of those persons that you're sluggish all the time, man, if you put sea moss in your diet, you'll never be sluggish ever again. It just gives you lots of minerals, lots of vitamins daily. And I'm just proud to be a part of that company. And, you know, I think it's, you know, I've always been one for good health, man. Like, I mean, a lot of people, they look at me now and they keep thinking I'm 25, 26 years old. And I'm like, nah, I got a son that's 30 years old. So it's like, you know, but I believe that without good health, I mean, there is nothing else. We might as well just, you know, lay down and die. So I always tell people, like, look, how are you going to take care of, you know, you and your situation if you don't take care of your health first? You got to think about your health first. And sea moss is one of those things that you can put in your diet that will help you on your way. And if you're smart while you're doing it, maybe you look into your lifestyle a little bit, you know, and how, you know, because that's what it's all about. Fasting is all about discipline, isn't it? Well, when, you know, people say, well, why do people become vegetarians? Well, you don't want, you know, a bunch of bugs and shit in your body, and you don't want your, you know, you don't want your colon looking like bug central, worm central. You would take meat out of your diet. And, you know, and I hate to sound so gross, but it's like people say they want to live, man, but when I look at them, I can't tell. I mean, because we put garbage in our bodies, we feed our minds with a bunch of garbage. And I believe that laughter is one of the most healing things on the earth, and good food is one of those things that you need. You need your vegetables, you need plenty of water, and you need sea moss in your life. And if you want to become a business partner of mine, hey, hit me on, you know, go to the Black Bank or go to Uncolonized Sea Moss. If you want to sell sea moss, look, I'll put you on and you can make some money. Become a wholesaler today and I'll put you on, because I'm a businessman and I know there are a lot of people out there looking for a way to earn money. If you want to earn some money, holler at your boy and let's get it.
I gotta say, most definitely, ladies and gentlemen, hit him up today. You know what I mean? It's not every day you get to work alongside not only a phenomenal businessman, but also a hip-hop legend as well. So if there's something you want to do, hit him up. But also serious inquiries only. You know, you don't want to blow up his DM if he ain't serious.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm also involved in another company, too. I'm involved, man. Like, Tribe Road is a hibiscus farm that I do business with. We got, you know, hibiscus sodas and teas and jellies and chutneys. You know, but everything is about health, man, you know, so, you know, and the funny thing is, like, everything is good. Like, I mean, people will think, like, oh, man, I don't want to hear that stuff, man. Somebody talking about fruits and vegetables. I don't want no damn fruits and vegetables. Yeah, I'm like thinking, well, you don't want to be around that long.
It's most definitely true. But some of them,
funny to me, man.
Some of them fruits, though, that you do find are actually delicious, man. Like, there's some fruits that I've found in the past couple of years, like dragon fruit. I tried that for the first time a year ago. That shit's delicious.
Yeah, it's delicious. Delicious. You know, it's funny, man. I traveled the world a couple of times. Actually, I've been around the world twice. And the first time I actually felt like I actually finally had fruit, I was in Portugal. And, bro, when I tell you the food there, the fruit and vegetables there tasted like nothing I ever tasted in my life, ever. And I was like thinking somebody had been feeding me garbage. Like, I mean, because I've never tasted fruit so good. I mean, juicy and delicious and soft and just everything that I ate while I was there was just delicious. So much that I wanted to buy property there and move there because I was just like, yo, this must be the Garden of Eden because somebody lied to me and told me that it's over in America and it's not. It's in Portugal. Well, I say that to say, look, if you got a little bit of space, grow your own vegetables. Grow your own fruit if you can. Get a greenhouse and grow your own food. The reason I say this is because, look, we don't never know where we're going. We don't never know how these economies are going to harm us or hurt us. And I think we just put too much control on others for our daily living, our daily lives. And so I always believe that if you're going to, I'm not saying you should stop buying fruit from, the local, food stores or the local farmer. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's always good to have surplus. So when they close up shop, if they have to, like when COVID happened, I mean, you got your garden in the back. If you can dig a well. You got your own water in the back. You ain't got to worry about, if they're running out of water at the Kroger or wherever that you go and get it. So I always think self-sufficiency is always the way to go, at least in my opinion. People can do what they want to do, but when the shit hit the fan, people was like rushing for toilet tissue and water, and I'm like thinking to myself, there's no reason why people should have to do that. Everybody should have water. Everybody should have fresh vegetables and fruit, at their beck and call. They shouldn't have to be, fighting for, food from my neighbor. I should be able to take food to my neighbor. You get me?
I most definitely agree. You definitely make some valid points, man, and I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
But I gotta ask, YZ, what is next for yourself, man? Is there, anything we happen to miss during this interview? Anything else you still want to talk about or promote? Well, we still got you here live on the Canadian airwaves.
I'm just continuously going, man. I mean, I'm helping some artists. One by the name of Sig Burner out of Salt Lake City, Utah, out of Houston. I'm helping another guy by the name of Dollar Bill do some stuff out of Philadelphia, Hollywood Jones. So I'm still working with artists, and I make music every day. People keep asking me to put another project out, and I record all the time. Daddy-O, he's one of those persons like, look, you need to put the music out. And the reason I kind of shy away from it, even though I record, is because, think about it. I put out Legend of Floyd Jones, one that I wasn't expecting that to come up today. But, people always say, hey, YZ, you still putting out music, and you don't even know the Legend of Floyd Jones. You don't know Muad'Dib. You don't know those albums. So why should I keep putting out music if the general public is just not paying attention? People ask, why don't I have YZ, instead of the Black Bank on, my Instagram? I recently just added YZ to it, but the truth is, I'm not one of those persons that have to try to sell me. Like, I mean, if you're like, if I want to listen to James Brown, I know where to find him. You get me? If I want to listen to Teddy Pendergrass, I know where to find him. If I want to listen to Pink Floyd, I know where to find them. I don't sit here and say, hey, what happened to? Because, I mean, especially in today's world where the world is at your fingertips, it's easy to find anybody. You could find, old rusted coins under, crack rock if you want to, because the Internet is just that savvy. So I think if people were to be a little more interested, instead of the M&Ms of the world who have to tell the world that YZ is fresh or YZ is dope or, he's one of my heroes. You feel me? For me, it's just Eminem and I are about the same age, and he's a fan of mine. And so when I got guys like that out bigging me up, it makes me feel like, I think it's cool that my peers, respect me, and because, that's what we want. We're in the game for respect. But as far as the general public, either they love it or they don't. They got so much to love nowadays, they don't have time to listen to a guy like myself. And that's fine. That's fine. Because in the end, Nas said it best. He said, Wait till later, and then we'll find out who the prophet really is. I mean, because sometimes it takes a DMX to die before you really understand his greatness. Tupac, while he was here, until he passed away, I mean, was he really God while he was still here? I mean, come on, man. Think about all the shit that we put Pac through while he was here, while he was living and walking and breathing on this earth. How much people talk so much shit about Pac, but as soon as he died, he's an angel. You got Nipsey Hussle, who another person, another young brother I knew from coming up in the game. I remember my partner said, "Yo, I remember Nipsey Hussle. You introduced me to him." I was like, "Man, you got a good memory," because a lot of people don't know that I knew Nipsey like that, because I don't go out there and just put it out there like that. But at the end of the day, it took Nipsey to die for people to see him. To die. It took people, Big L to die for people to see him. And I'm like, yo, you got so many people on this earth that you should be loving and showing homage to, and instead we got the youth talking shit about people, and you got the elders mad and talking shit about the youth, and I think that that's a big mistake. Distinction is a big problem in our community, the hip-hop community, and that shit really has got to stop. And, maybe I'm boycotting because I just don't like what I see. I mean, if there was more unity in the game, maybe you might see more YZ, but, until there's more unity, I got to stand away from the game. I'm never going to say fuck the game because I love it too much. I'm always, be in the background trying to give people what I feel they should have and be able to share anything that I have with them. But if they could get anything from this interview and any time I speak, that unity is the key to all success along with good health. You got to be unified. The people united will never be defeated, and I'm truly a great and firm believer in that.
And also, YZ, this is a time in the interview right before we part ways, man, that I just give a chance for the individual that does slide through the radio station airwaves, just like a chance to give like their social media handles. That way, our listeners can follow you if they're not already doing so. And I know you already dropped your Instagram, but if you can, drop the other ones as well. That way, our listeners can stay more updated on you.
Well, I started this little thing called Critical Thinker. So if you go on Instagram, if you go to underscore Critical Thinker _ that's one of mine. BLM Gang, which I'm really, I've had for a long time, but I've been kind of slow on it because it's about love, black love, and the black love movement. And, I know Black Lives Matter, and that's the truth. But black love is what's needed. And so that's what that's about. The Black Bank is there. I'm also on Facebook too, under Anthony Hill. But that's been there for a long time. Uncolonized Sea Moss. That's a good way to stay in touch with what I'm doing. I'm about to be more involved with Pride Road, which is that hibiscus line that I was telling you about. But the best way to get at me nowadays is that, unless you want to email me. I could give you that too if you want it. I also, it's funny. I have a YouTube channel too, Critical Thinker YZ, Critical Thinker. Also, so that's a good way to do that. But I'm curious to how many people actually will listen to this interview, or if they're listening now, or if they'll get it later. But if you are, send me a note and let me know that you at least heard it. And look, if you're out there and you're looking to try to do some things, if you just need some help doing something, or you just, maybe this will speak to somebody that, you've been trying to do something, but no one's paying you any mind and no one's, giving you the attention you need, holler at me. I mean, because I'm a firm believer that you got to reach out hands. You got to always reach, not just ahead of you, but in back of you, on top of you, and at all sides. You got to reach out. And so I'm here. If you want to reach out to me, please do so. Follow me at the Black Bank, TheBlackBank. And a lot of people want to, they'll say, well, what's the Black Bank? Well, the Black Bank is exactly that. It's an investment company. It's called TBB. It's a corporation I started. And it's really about investing from my perspective. And if you got good ideas, if you want to do something and you just need a push, holler at me, and I'll do my best to try to help you out if I can, or at least point you in the right direction where I can. I mean, it's weird. I was looking at my man G. G Pro, he's a DJ I used to know from back, and I still know him. He was at WPRB and he worked with Wu-Tang real closely. And he said, "Hey, don't get it twisted. My Rolodex is like most of y'all Instagram followers. Like your follow list. That's my Instagram. I mean, that's my Rolodex. Well, my Rolodex is when I read that, it made me think about what my Rolodex is, and it's very much like that. There's not many people I can't reach out to. And I say that boldly and outwardly because there's no one that's listening to this can call me a liar about it. And I don't care who they are. I can reach them all. And so if you need help getting to somebody, or if you just need a good vibration, sometimes that's all it takes. Somebody to point you in the right direction. Holler at me, and I will do what I can if I can. Get some sea moss in your life. Uncolonized sea moss. Go to my page, click the link, get some sea moss in your life, get some energy in your life. And the reason I say get some energy in your life because a lot of people walk around dead, and we need to rise up. We need to rise for the occasion. It's very important that we do that.
And I gotta say, first and foremost, YZ, before we part ways, I just gotta say, man, thank you so much for years of monumental music that not only I had the opportunity to enjoy, man, but also millions of listeners worldwide, man. Your music most definitely helped me get through a lot of difficult times when I was young, man. So thank you for just making phenomenal music that sparked the brain.
Man, I appreciate it. I appreciate that you listen, man, and I appreciate that you shared that story with me, that you were able to get anything from anything that I've actually produced or was a part of or created, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate what you're doing now. Thank you for continuing the culture, and please, whatever you do, pass it on to somebody else, so we can just keep it on and on and on and on, like your boy Kuba says, on and on and on and on. That's what we needed to be. We needed to continue. And when people were saying rap is a fad, I knew that was not the truth. My mother being one, doing the same thing. She was just like, nah, that's not going to be here in a few years. That's going to come and go. And I told her, no, I don't think so, man. I don't. And she said, well, why? Why do you think it's going to be around? I said, because it's the voice of the streets. And the voice of the streets is going to always be there. And I don't care how much the streets change. The streets are always going to have a voice. And so I say to everyone, listen, use your voice. For a lot of people here, tomorrow is election day. Please get out and use your voice. Use your vote. Use your voice.
But I gotta say, YZ, again, thank you so much, man, for just taking the time out of your busy evening. And hopefully down the line we can make this happen again sometime soon. But for now, man, definitely have yourself a wonderful night.
Anytime, anytime. Thank you again, and you have a wonderful night as well.
You as well. Thank you so much.
All right, brother.